If you want to be a copywriter, I love it. I'm here for it. But you're going to need these three things: a resume, a portfolio, and a message. This is part one of a 3-part series where we're going to unpack all of those. Here, I'm going to walk you through exactly how to fix your resume so you can confidently apply for those content and copywriting jobs that actually shows your skill set and your talent. Create a writer-specific resume. The numbers are in to tell us just how hard it is to get an interview right now. Goodtime.io published an article back in January of 2025 surveying hiring professionals, asking what they're seeing right now. 50% of them say that the landscape is more competitive than it was this time last year. 27% say that the workload is unmanageable. 41% say that there is a lack of qualified candidates, and that's making time to hire a lot longer. And 42% say they're already using AI to help screen resumes. And so adding to the squeeze on job seekers, it's the copywriting job demand, set to increase by 3.7% by 2032. So with thousands of copywriting jobs already listed, we have an environment here that's kind of the perfect storm to make it really hard for you to land an interview. So what does that tell us about the application process, and more specifically about your resume? You have to have a clear, tailored resume optimized with relevant experiences and skill sets. It's a non-negotiable right now, especially when AI is playing an increasingly bigger and bigger role in that first round job vetting. So watch out for this number one mistake I see most people making in their resumes, and that's trying to retrofit non-writing experience. Recruiters don't have time to interpret how your past jobs relate to copywriting. So if your resume is full of experiences that aren't related to writing, they're going to assume that you're not qualified and they're just going to move on. Even if you rewrite your experiences trying to show the transferable aspects, it's still asking them to do mental gymnastics and connect the dots and read between the lines. And frankly, they just don't have time for that. That means they're just going to move on to somebody who's more obviously qualified. And I get the impulse of doing this because I did it too, especially when your background is exclusively in another field. What are you actually going to put on your resume, right? I tried to make my retail resume work for content and copywriting roles, doing this kind of like retrofitting, rephrasing thing. And shocker, it never worked. So I want to show you my resume. This is the resume that more or less that I tried to use for the almost a decade. I want to look at it on my screen to show you exactly what the problem was. Up at the top, you're going to notice that there's no headline. It should say content writer, copywriter, marketing specialist, something like that. Communications maybe, because my degree was in mass communications. I could have put that at the top if nothing else. And then the next part is no career profile. So no context for a recruiter or a hiring manager reviewing my resume and trying to figure out why I'm even applying. And then you're going to notice, I think I have 1, 2, 3, maybe 4 experiences on here that have nothing to do with writing. 60% of this resume is not even kind of related to writing, marketing, anything in that world. I want you to keep this in mind. You don't leave your value up to interpretation. You literally spell it out. So step number 1 is the brutal resume edit. Actually, novelists have this part down pat. They are experts at this thing called kill your darlings. And that means that if something doesn't serve the story or advance the plot, they cut it. That means they're going to get rid of a character, an entire chapter, or even the best line that they have ever written. And yeah, it's going to be painful, but if it doesn't help the story, it gets cut. And I think you need to have the very same mentality towards your resume and not be too precious with all of those experiences that you worked really hard for it, because at the end of the day, if they're not writing related, they don't help you. Step number 2 is building your resume back. So now that you have a very sparse or maybe even a blank page, now what do? Once you've cut the fluff, you're going to rebuild the resume with granular detail about any writing projects or experiences that you do have. So you're going to be thinking about base components here. Think about the content types you've written: blogs, articles, essays, web pages, email, Think about your writing style: persuasive, long form, short form, conversational, professional. Think about the channels you've written for: social media, web, app, print, marketing or copywriting techniques that you may know, like storytelling, narrative, persuasion, conversion copy. The goal is to zoom into every single experience you have and kind of break it apart into those base components, because each one of those base components can be its own bullet point, and you're going to see how very quickly those can fill up your page again. So let's give you an example to kind of help you wrap your head around this. Let's say that you helped out your sister's plant nursery / cafe with some Instagram content. So that could be one sentence, it could be one bullet point, but you could also break it into a lot of other bullet points. Think about everything that went into that content. Did you do hashtag research? Did you write the captions, write the product descriptions? Did you do localized marketing strategy? Determine when to publish? That's calendar placement. Now let's take another example. So let's say that you did something just out of the love of creativity. You wrote your own blogs and articles. Let's make that its own project and think about all of those components that go into writing a blog. So did you research and resource vet? You wrote, you formatted, you proofed, you edited. Did you do any internal or external linking? Did you develop calls to action or develop any part of a sales funnel or an opt-in or a lead magnet? You get the idea. Let's talk about how to format your resume. Step number 3 is choosing the right resume format for you and your situation. So every copywriter's career looks different, and it's not always a very clean progression from one thing to the next. And because of that, you might have an extra challenge not everybody has, and it's trying to prove that you are indeed qualified. So the right resume format can help you control that narrative and proactively overcome any objections that recruiters or hiring managers might have. Here are the 3 perfect resume formats that I would recommend and when it's best to use them. So let's talk reverse chronological resume. This one's the most common type of resume, with your newest stuff at the top, going down from there. It works the best if you have multiple writing projects and they are linear and they don't have career gaps. Then you can use a functional or skills-based resume if your writing experience is scattered, or you have repetitive experiences across many jobs, or maybe it's a little too light after you did that big edit. And the third and final format that I love is the projects-based resume format. And this works really well if you have 2 or more relevant projects. Treat these just like you would a regular resume experience. And this is a hot tip. If you go with a functional resume, include a career timeline with job titles, companies, and dates, so you can avoid looking like you're trying to hide gaps. And here's the bottom line. Effective resumes are 100% relevant and detailed. Breaking into copywriting starts with a brutal resume edit. Get rid of everything that isn't related to writing, communication, or marketing, and then add back writing projects, and then add details about content formatting, writing devices, copywriting techniques, and more. So what comes after the resume? That's your portfolio, and that's the next video that I am working on right now. So I will see you in that one real soon.